Dear world, I'm doing this video because a friend of mine was begging me to do it. She is a journalist living on Ibiza, the Spanish island, where I lived very long. And she's constantly asked by other foreigners, not German guys, what is happening in Germany? What about the hunts of foreigners in Germany? Are the Nazis rising again, and so on? And there's very, very little information about that in the English media, even in the English-speaking alternative media. I asked Alex Jones to come on the show. I asked Stefan Molyneux to come on the show. They are not answering to me. Maybe my emails don't get through because I'm not somebody. I'm a best-selling author in Germany. I'm a former mainstream journalist. I worked for the biggest publishing companies in Germany. You can Google my name, but don't believe everything you read there, because now I'm an alternative journalist. I have a short bio of myself. Below the video, I have 19 million views of my YouTube videos. So I'm not somebody. Alex Jones and the like could answer to my asking them, because I want to set the record straight. There were no hunts of foreigners in Germany, not in Chemnitz and not anywhere. It's just a blatant lie. Of course, it's hard to prove for me. I made dozens of videos about this topic in German, so that's hard for you to understand. But I try to break it down to you in English, that you can see the proofs for yourself. Better to say there are no proofs for manhunts, and that's the problem. Even the head of German intelligence, it's called Verfassungsschutz, said there were no manhunts, there is no proof of it. And now the mainstream media and the left-wing parties attack him. He should prove his claims. But of course it is impossible to prove something which does not exist. There exists no proof of manhunts because there were no manhunts. The journalists on the ground from the local newspapers, which are left-wing journalists, said there were no manhunts. And then they always claim there is a video. I tried to search this video for you on YouTube. It's constantly deleted from YouTube because it proves that it proves nothing. I found one video, I'll link it below, where you see it several times, the video which is said to be proof for the manhunt. But if you watch the video closely, you see that this is not a manhunt at all. To the contrary, you see that there are two migrants coming to protesters, and you don't see what they say, because, but there is a member of the German parliament who says they were provoking, and you have to imagine this was protest. They were grieving. The people were grieving because allegedly two foreigners stabbed a German-Cuban guy, so he was a colored guy, to death, and the people were grieving, and that was the march. Later it was labeled as right-wing extremist march. This is a blatant lie. More on that later. And they were provoking them, and then he runs to one of the migrants. He runs away a few meters, and that was it. But even if you don't believe the one witness we have, which is from the German parliament, who says that they were provoking, even if you don't accept this, you clearly see on the video that the migrants are going towards the guy, and it's obvious that they said something before, and then he runs a few steps in his direction, and that was it. But you have, in the international mainstream media, you are not shown this video. You only see the headlines, manhunts, hunts of foreigners, and so on and so on. So that's the problem, that the friend of mine, she begged me to make a video about that, because she is attacked by other people who are living there and say, what's about Germany? And she cannot point to a certain article in the media to prove that there were no manhunts. So she asked me to do this video. So I posted that video below, where you see that there is no manhunt. After that, there were a lot of articles produced of the mainstream media where people claim that there were manhunts. I did research on that, and you can do it by yourself. Just give in the names of the people who are the witnesses, and you can Google translate all the article, then give in the names of the witnesses, and you will see that the witnesses are either militant migrants with a military background, or connected to left-wing radical activists. So the only witnesses for alleged manhunts are radical leftists who devoted their lives to pretend that there is a big right-wing problem in Germany. You just Google the names, and then you go on Facebook, and then you see it. They are connected to Antifa. You may know Antifa from the American riots and so on. Antifa is a left-wing extremist group, and they oftentimes even do attacks on refugee camps and claim that there are right wings and so on. But that's not so important in this point. You have to research that by yourself. But it all comes down to this: there is no proof because there were no manhunts. I mean, I easily can tell you now, okay, I was hunted yesterday, and where's my proof? There were no manhunts. And the other big thing is they are trying to tell you, which is a blatant lie, that these were far-right protests. This is a blatant lie. You are even told, and I will prove to you that it's a lie in a second. You are even told there is a far right-wing party in the German parliament. It's called AfD, Alternative für Deutschland, Alternative for Germany. In all the media you will read it's a far-right populist party. Populist is not, in America it's not a bad word anymore because Steve Bannon tried to change that narrative. But the party is libertarian conservative, which holds the same positions as the CDU, which is now ruling the country under Angela Merkel, few years ago. So few years ago, the exact same positions, but not as libertarian as this party, were the positions of the Christian Democratic Union. I prove it to you because they have a manifesto in English. So you can read the manifesto in English. And I know many guys, friends of mine, who are in this party, as a disclaimer, that are libertarians. And this is the most important people in this party are libertarians, like myself. I myself formed a libertarian party a few years ago. And I was praised by Ron Paul for my manifesto there. You can Google it. Ron Paul praised Party of Reason. So I'm a libertarian. That's easy to prove if Ron Paul tells you that. And I tell you this party is conservative libertarian. So you can download the manifesto. There is no far-right movement in the whole of Germany. The real neo-Nazi party, which is the NPD, National Party, Democratic Party, NPD. This is the right-wing party, the neo-Nazi party, has constantly below 1% in any election. So this party is just a conservative libertarian party, and the positions in this manifesto are exactly the positions they really have. You can believe me that, or you can Google it. Of course, they always find one member of the party who said something a little bit stupid. You know that from America or other, and then say, "Oh, that was right wing or something." It's totally bogus. It's bullshit. So there is no far right in Germany. But what really happens in Germany? is that through the migrant crisis, which many of you know, it's not a real crisis, it's orchestrated, but I don't want to touch on this topic. But there are real manhunts of Germans by foreigners. There are real manhunts of left-wing extremists against party members of the Alternative for Germany. I know personally people who were beaten up, and you find this in local reports, in local newspapers, but not on the mainstream media, and you do not find it in the international media. Constantly, members of these parties are attacked physically, and they tried even to kill some of them. For example, I don't know, they manipulated the wheels of the cars and so on. I don't know how to put it in English. So there are real manhunts. There are the number of rapes are skyrocketing. The migrants who are called asylum seekers have a crime rate which is 15 times higher in violent crimes and sexual assaults, including rapes. 15 times, according to the German FBI. It's called BKA. I wanted to go on the show on Alex Jones, or of course I would go to Fox too, but that's even harder. So if you know Alex Jones, or if you know Stefan Molyneux, put me on the show, because nobody is telling you the truth about Germany. And I try to reach out to them, and I'm not a nobody. If you compare it, I have more followers, because I'm only speaking German, than these guys in some cases. But they don't listen to me. They won't put me on the show. So now I do an English video, and I hope you spread it in your groups. There is no far-right movement, and of course there are always some Nazis in any country. But in Germany, there are less Nazis than in any other country of the world, I would guess. So they are only these protests are only against the migration policy, which means in Germany that everybody comes in, and even without a passport, even without controlling anything. And that is forbidden by the German constitution. It's not a real constitution, another discussion. But in our constitution, there's a clear paragraph who says who comes via a safe third state is not allowed to seek asylum. So Angela Merkel is breaking our own constitution. She clearly is a criminal. There's no doubt about that. But nobody reports about that in the international media. So, and the people who protest are only want that the politicians follow our constitution. That's the same as in the US, before Trump came into office. I mean, even now they are breaking the Constitution of America constantly on a daily basis. But the protest is only against this kind of policy, which means everybody can come in without a check, without checking him. Most people are not against immigration. There is nothing bad about immigration if you control who's coming. But they are not against foreigners. That's totally bogus. The German people are the most, they like the foreigners the most in the whole world. That's why we had the refugee welcome campaign. So I think you don't find one country in the whole world which has less Nazis than Germany now, of course. Maybe Sweden, and they are even the situation is even worse in Sweden, because they are 10 or 20 years ahead of Germany. So this was on behalf of for my friend, a journalist. She's very unhappy how Germany is portrayed in the world. I hope I could help her. And please spread it in every group you can find. And look below the video is a bio of myself. So I'm not some random guy, even if I wear a hat. Goodbye.